then we'll fucking kick off, alright?
Alright.
Yeah.
Are I know you sent the topics in, are they staying the same or?
We'll test out topic 6, which I think was Needy Pecs, Bournemouth.
Yeah.
We'll save that for next week.
Okay, that's fine then, yeah.
So, I'm just going to do a quick sound check. So, I'm just turning the volume up on my laptop.
Close it. Shut up, David.
Alright, so whoever said close it, then their sound will come through.
NayCTM 298 cheered. X10.
Thank you very much for the cheers, Mason. So, Lewis, I think your sound just came through then. Exile, do you want to just say testing 1, 2?
Testing 1, 2.
Perfect, right, I can mute that sound. Right.
Yeah, go on now. Just guess.
Okay, good evening and welcome to Benteke Fried Chicken, episode 1. I'm not going to lie, I am a little bit nervous about this. It could easily fall on its ass, but we'll see. Time will tell. We'll give it a few weeks and see how we're going. So basically, Benteke Fried Chicken, so Fantasy Football League. So probably for the last 20 years, if not longer now, I've been playing fantasy football. Always register up at the beginning of the season, do about a week or two, make a few transfers, and then lose interest and forget about it. And that's it until the following season. This time, the plan is that we'll do a stream like this, probably once a week. Maybe once a fortnight, depending on the numbers and the activity and such. Probably on a Friday at 9-ish. And what we'll do is we'll look at the league standings. We'll review, obviously, the results from the previous week. We'll look at the fixtures for the week ahead. And we'll try and get different people in on the stream each week, to be fair. Just to kind of keep that interest. Now, I think at the moment we've got 72 people registered, which is a hell of a lot more than I expected we would get in the first place. The season starts a week today. We've got Palace against Arsenal next Friday, which we'll talk about in more detail during the show. But what we're going to do is I've got 2 panellists here, so it's going to be a little bit, we're going to have an element of Gillette Soccer Saturday mixed in with a little bit of Soccer AM. So we'll go over to the 2 panellists. We did have initially, we had I think 4 or 5 panellists lined up, but a few have shit themselves. I will not mention any names. We'll protect their identity at this stage. But I'm going to hand over first to we've got a very northern contingent, I must add. Now this, obviously, if anyone's watching from the BBC, you know this is not deliberate. We did have a southerner lined up, but he can't make it. So I'll hand over first of all to James Eccles, if you'd like to just introduce yourself and a bit of your footballing background and knowledge, if you wish.
Yeah, so obviously on Xbox is MDXF XL. Kind of one of them things, to be honest. Fantasy football, don't usually stick with it throughout the year, similar to Rob, but I'm always happy to kind of get involved with stuff like this. Good laugh, and if you do stick with it till the end, it does get close at the end, the points wise. So it's always kind of interesting to see who's got who and stuff. Generally, don't really follow the Premier League, but I just support a local non-league team called Chorley, as Rob knows and stuff. So it's quite a different to the Premier League, and it's not quite Liverpool United, but it'll do. But, being from the north, obviously the best Premier League teams from the north too. It's kind of quite easy to keep up and stuff. You're always seeing the headlines and everything, and that's kind of what I know about all that. Personally, I've gone for this year quite a stronger approach with the Tottenham team. Even though saying the Northern players probably the best, I've gone with Son and Kane already. So we'll see how they get on as my two key players.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think we'll refer to you as Exile throughout. I don't think. Does anyone call you Eccles or James at all?
It's usually Jimbo, but
Jimbo.
We'll go Exile.
We'll go with Jimbo or Exile. Okay. So yeah, for anyone that didn't have the volume turned up there, Jimbo is a Chorley fan. So he knows shit football when he sees it, just like myself, to be fair, being a Halifax fan. I won't go into detail in terms of the last, well, not in this episode anyway, but we might do it throughout the season. Obviously, Charlie's biggest game of their career was a couple of summers back at the Shea when they were defeated by Halifax in a playoff game. But we might bring that up on stream, the highlights of that in a few weeks. We'll see. We'll see. If you're leading in Benteke fried chicken, we might just bring you down a peg or two on that one. So we'll keep that as a joke card up the sleeve. Okay, thank you very much, Jimbo. And the other person that we've got on the panel, if he's still there, because he's he's not particularly reliable for shit like this. Are you still there, Lewis?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Welcome. Do you want to just? I'm guessing a lot of people, if not everyone that's watching the stream, will probably be aware of who you are and whatnot. But do you want to just introduce yourself?
I am Lewis67 known as on Xbox, but known as Lewis normally. I followed football as a kid, just after my dad supporting Liverpool, I've supported them from then on. The fantasy football side, I started probably last season with just my brothers and my dad, and just started from then on, but this year I think I'll be a bit more serious.
Okay, thank you very much. So obviously we've got the stream going on. There's a few comments coming in already. What we'll do is we'll try and read them out as we can. I don't want to interrupt the guys on the panel while they're talking. But yeah, it's interesting there, Luce, that you said started fantasy football when you were a kid. And how old are you now? 17? You're still a kid. You're still a kid, to be fair. So right, okay. So that's the introductions done for those that are here. We were expecting Needy Peck to be on, but unfortunately he's got other plans. I think he's out for a meal with friends. We did have one or two other people lined up as well. But unfortunately they're not available at this moment. Well, for this particular weekend, one's on holiday, and like I say, one I think his arse fell out. But we might persuade him to come on a later show. If anybody that's watching is interested in any way whatsoever, that has any form of interest in football, that wants to take part in the league and would love to come on and have a chat, we'd be more than welcome to have you on. The plan is, like I say, we're going to stream probably on every Friday from 9 till about 9:45, and we do have an agenda in place, but it is pretty loose and pretty relaxed in terms of the show itself. Okay, so that's the introductions done. Now, in terms of the title of the stream, so I don't know if anyone's ever seen a show that Alan Davis has hosted recently. It's called As Yet Untitled. So that was the actual name of the TV show, and basically it was an open chat, open forum with a few like celebs and comedians and whatnot. And then at the end of the show, the title of the show was decided based on the topics or the agenda that had been discussed, or any funny points that had been discussed throughout. So we're going to probably need some participation there from obviously the guys on the panel and also you guys on the stream as well. So bear that in mind. If there's anything, any what standout moment throughout the show, then we will capture that for the title. Okay, so moving on then to what we had down as topic number 2, which was the big signings of the summer. So before we go into Benteke Fried Chicken, we're just going to discuss a little bit about some of the signings that have taken place in the Premiership this season. So obviously on the screen you can see what do they call him? Do they call him the Nordic Viking? Is that the name that the nickname for Erling Haaland?
Possibly, yeah.
So he's branded everywhere right now. Obviously signed for Manchester City from Borussia Dortmund. Thanks very much for the subscription there, Bob Tash. So Erling Haaland is signed for City. Now, for the last 3 or 4 years, maybe even longer, under Pep, City have played literally without a recognised striker. With goals obviously coming in from the likes of Sterling, De Bruyne, Gabriel Jesus, that's played off and out wide. They've never really replaced Sergio Aguero or Kun Aguero since he moved on to Barcelona. So his first question, I think, what do you guys feel about Haaland coming into to Man City? So last season, 24 matches for Borussia Dortmund, scored 22 goals, but prior to that season, never really done anything. So what's your thoughts on that, guys? First of all,
Yeah, it's quite. I think, as you said, they've not really played with a recognised striker, so it was quite a big move, obviously, with Jesus leaving as well. And I think it could work out. Whether it's just, I don't think he fits that same role as Jesus did, and it might not pay out the way they think it will.
yeah, that's a fair point. Kind of like an all their eggs in one basket kind of approach for this coming season. Lewis, what's your thoughts on Haaland? Do you, as a Liverpool fan, are you threatened by this signing?
I'd say so. With how clinical he is, I'd say with Kevin De Bruyne behind him, I can see him being a contender for top goal scorer of the season.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, he's going to be one of the favourites for the Golden Boot. I mean, you don't have to answer this question, guys, but is Haaland in your lineups?
Yeah.
Not for me, no.
Not for Exile, but he is in Lewis's. Okay, so that's interesting. So I do believe that in this particular league run by Barclays, that I do believe that players' value goes up and down throughout the course of the season.
Yes,
So
I believe.
That is right, yeah.
yeah, so I think Haaland at the moment is, if I remember rightly, when I looked last week, valued at I think 11.5 million, which I think is the highest, if not 12, is the highest. I think City's early fixtures favour them. I think they play a few of the weaker teams early on. They start away at West Ham, and then I believe in week 2 they might be at home to Bournemouth. Yeah,
Yes.
so home to Bournemouth on the Saturday of week 2. So there's a good chance that if Haaland gets an opener and opening goal on week 1 against West Ham, he's probably then going to bag 2 or 3 at home against Bournemouth, I would imagine. So maybe by week 3 he'll have gone up 0.5, if not a full million. So it's one to bear in mind. So obviously one of the big debates I think is going to be whether people go with Haaland or if they go with Kane. But we'll have a look at that and discuss that later on in the show, if not later in the season. So the next signing then that we're going to discuss, for me, this one's quite a shock for me. I'm really surprised at this one, and this is Raheem Sterling going from City to Chelsea. Now for me, Sterling, I mean, when was the last time he scored a goal outside of the 6-yard box? He's literally there every time a cross comes in. From left or right, he's there 6 yards, maybe just a little bit further out for a tap in. I don't know the stats on how many he's scored over the last 3 or 4 seasons, but it's easily been double figures, and if not close to 20 each season. So for me, for City to let him go when they brought in someone like Haaland was a big surprise for me, because I thought if he's getting down that wing and putting crosses in, whether that's on Haaland's head or on his toe, he'd probably create 10, 15 assists throughout the course of the season. What's your thoughts on this one, guys? Sterling to Chelsea.
Yeah, quite a shock, really. I think when you look at the impact he's had for City, and then also for England, he's been so clinical and so strong. Always that player to look out for. I think then to lose him, especially to such a big team like Chelsea, who've not really done much themselves, but he could be a game changer for them, really.
Okay, and Lewis, your thoughts on Sterling going from City to Chelsea?
With you saying of him scoring inside the box, I don't think he actually has scored outside the box for City.
Possibly not. No, possibly not.
But from going to Liverpool, then City, then Chelsea, it's a bit of a weird one for me, because I never really expected for a player of that calibre to go to a team like Chelsea, really.
So do you think that? Yeah, go on, sorry.
To go from a Premier League winning team to a team that's challenging for top 4 every season is a bit of a weird one, and for the price he went for as well.
Yeah. I mean, but does this push Chelsea that step further? Do they now become title contenders with this kind of signing?
Not really,
No.
because Chelsea's also got players that can play in Sterling's position.
Yeah.
Like Mount can play out wide. They've got loads. Like even Havertz can play out wide. But with Sterling, the Tuchel's gonna have to change how they play. In my opinion.
How do you think? So for Sterling, obviously as a wide player. Now, when you look at the Etihad and the size on the pitch of the Etihad, it's probably one of the widest and one of the longest in the league. And then when you go to Stamford Bridge, it's one of the narrowest in the league. I've been to Stamford Bridge twice, and it's extremely narrow. Do you think that's going to have a negative impact on, obviously, the space that's available to him and the effectiveness that he brings to the team?
It very well could, yeah. I think it's only the little margins, isn't it, of football that kind of always catch you out. Little things like how big the pitch is and everything. It can be, it can determine how a team plays and stuff. So, if he doesn't have the space and he can't do what he does, he probably, he obviously won't be able to do his best. But it just depends if he fits into the Chelsea team, because how they've been playing recently and who they've been selling and not bringing in. It's just not kind of been good enough at the moment. So, although I think with him being kind of an improvement, it could really put a downer on the team, because it might not be the player they actually needed.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you. So moving on then, we've already mentioned this guy in part of this City chat. Gabriel Jesus from City to Arsenal, with Lacazette being released by Arsenal. Is that a like-for-like replacement? What do you think on that one, Lewis?
I think it's a complete swap of player, really, because Lacazette wasn't really the player to run onto the ball or like win the through ball. He was always there to like a poacher.
Yeah.
But with Jesus, with his pace and his agility, he can. He can do anything with the ball, in my opinion.
Okay. And do you think Jesus is gone to Arsenal being promised to be the main man up top?
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously at City, he spent many years behind Aguero. Aguero then moved on to obviously Barcelona, where it didn't really work out due to injuries and whatnot. But like we've mentioned already, so once Aguero had moved on, it didn't really work out for Jesus. And then to rub salt into the wound, City have literally played with no recognised striker. So do you think part of the deal was that he's gone to obviously Arsenal now, being promised to be the main man and probably starting 20, 25, if not 30 of the games as the main man up there?
Yeah, I think that's a great signing, to be honest. I think it helps both parties, because he's not getting the game time, and Arsenal need, I don't rate them, but they really, they've made a great signing, and they really needed kind of like these key players to, because Lacazette's been a flop, and to bring in such a Premier League winner a couple of times is just kind of massive upgrades.
Absolutely. So just having a quick look at Jesus at the moment. In terms of his value in the league right now, £8 million. He scored 120 points last season, but like we've mentioned, it's going to be a totally different role for him this time. And if you look at Arsenal's other recognised forward, it's only Eddie Nketiah that they've got within fantasy football that's recognised as a striker, and he's 7 million, scored 55 points last season. Go on, sorry.
I was going to say about Nketiah, I think that's where they've kind of got this massive improvement with Jesus, because Arsenal just haven't had top quality players recently. The players are either too old or too not enough experience. So to kind of get that in between, a player who's got experience and isn't too old, it's kind of ideal.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think at Jesus at £8 million, I think I've probably talked myself into signing him. Actually, I think if we get time towards the back end of the stream, I might look at selecting my team on the stream. I think at 8 million, in comparison to Haaland, Kane and Son that are like 11.5, 12 million, I think Jesus could be one of the big signings actually. I believe from a streamer that I watched yesterday, I believe more people have selected Jesus above Haaland and Kane. I think 64% of people have picked Jesus, and that's probably based on the value that he is right now. So £8 million. If he starts scoring early on, obviously they've got Palace away on the opening day, which, to be honest, in my opinion, we'll talk about this game later on, but I don't see Arsenal getting a result at Palace. But as the games come, they play Leicester at home on week 2. Week 3, they play Bournemouth away. Week 4, they've got Fulham at home. Week 5, they've got Villa at home. So by week 5, Jesus he could have netted 5, if not 6 goals, if he's playing and getting the minutes. So £8 million, Jesus might be the man. I'm going to have to make. There's no doubt I'm going to forget about this. Going to forget about this, but I need to sign him. Okay, so moving on, the next one then. Philippe Coutinho, obviously last season was on loan from Barcelona at Aston Villa. Massively influenced transfer instigated by Steven Gerrard. He's now signed as a permanent deal. I'm not sure on the valuation. I'm not even sure if it was a free transfer or not. This, for me, if Villa get the best out of Coutinho, his set pieces alone probably bring 10, 15 goals throughout the course of the season. On top of that, the chances that he creates. What's Villa's expectations, do you think, going to be for the fans this coming season?
For the team, I think they'll improve a fair bit on what they did last season. It was a bit, they got there at the end, but with Gerrard coming in so late and not having time, he did have the time, but just probably didn't have the team he wanted at the time. And this season it could be a whole different story with bringing in the players full time, knowing that they're there for however the contract is, and I think they'll just be a lot stronger this year than the money they spent at the start. It should really pay off this year, I think.
Absolutely. Lewis, your thoughts on Coutinho and Villa and Gerrard?
From watching Coutinho growing up, watching Liverpool, I can just see him being a big improvement to Villa and Gerrard, especially with Gerrard literally playing with Coutinho for multiple years at Liverpool, and especially with Coutinho can play his best in big games.
Yeah.
With like you said, his set pieces, and he's very agile with his feet, and he can make so many defenders flat-footed. He's a complete midfielder for me. He can pass, he can shoot, he can do everything with the ball, really.
Absolutely, yeah. He was phenomenal, wasn't he? In his better years at Liverpool, he was absolutely fantastic. A real game changer. Again, another one that's gone to Barcelona, probably for big money, and not materialised. It's not worked out. He's not the first to do that. There's quite a long list of players where that's happened. Obviously, same with Real Madrid as well. Coutinho at the moment, right now, valued at just £7 million. 83 points he scored last season, but I think he came in January, didn't he, Coutinho? He wasn't there all season. Yeah. Okay, so just touching briefly on that. Gerrard's obviously you mentioned there. Gerrard's not had much time at Villa. I think he's had the same amount of time as Lampard at Everton. Now, Lampard generally across the scene is deemed as to being a failure or struggling at Everton, but he's got the same win rate as Gerrard at Villa. So I think the difference there, I think the expectation on Villa this coming season is going to be massive.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah, I think the way they kind of ended last year, I've seen that stat with Gerrard being kind of compared to Lampard, really.
Yeah.
It's quite a. I mean, it shouldn't really be that way, I think. But obviously with Coutinho coming in and probably being able to play the style of play that they want to do, they should really improve this year. I can see them at least getting, a few positions at least, better than they did last year. If not, really pushing up at the top half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think there was talk about other people saying that they should be looking at least for top half, and if not beyond that this coming season. Okay, so we'll touch on one more of the summer signings before we move topic. I think anyone that has a vested interest in football, in world football, will have probably been aware of this one. Christian Eriksen, I think 15 months ago at the World Cup, had a cardiac arrest, literally died on the football pitch, which brought obviously the footballing world together. Now, usually when these kind of incidents happen, that's game over, isn't it? He was brought back to life, resuscitated. But usually after that, your footballing career is over. Now, he's obviously come back and somehow passed a medical to play the second half of the season at Brentford last year. Great attribute. Obviously, again, we know how key his set pieces are. And I think he's now gone on a free transfer from Brentford to Manchester United. Now, I don't think if the incident hadn't have happened regarding his health and the cardiac arrest, at the time he was playing at Tottenham. That's right, yeah. Or had he moved? I think he was still at Tottenham at the time.
Either he was on loan or he was away at. It might have been Inter Milan. I'm not too sure.
All right.
But
Okay.
I don't think he was in England anymore at the time.
Right. Okay. So I think if that hadn't have happened, there would have been no way that Spurs would have sold Christian Eriksen to Manchester United or any of the other top six, shall we say. Obviously, it's gone through a different route here, different channels, and gone to Brentford. Proved his fitness. I would imagine there'll be some small print in the contract regarding his health and whatnot. But he's now moved on to Manchester United. Now, I haven't looked lately at Manchester United's squad. We'll have a brief look here on the stream while we're at it now. I believe Pogba has moved on, or is moving on. Is that a deal that has been done? It has moved on. So just looking here, United look a little bit short in the midfield section. So they've got obviously Bruno Fernandes, Fred, Jadon Sancho, Scott McTominay, Rashford, Elanga, Eriksen, Van der Beek and Pellistri. Now, I've never heard of Pellistri. He didn't score any points last season. Van der Beek, I think, has been on the bench ever since he joined. Rashford's, from what I've seen, has been pretty poor for quite some time now. I would imagine Eriksen is going to walk into that Manchester United midfield. Would that be the same feeling for you guys?
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah. Now, obviously, looking at the forward sections here for United, so obviously Eriksen's going to be taking free kicks, he's going to be playing defence, splitting balls, but they've only got two recognised forwards here in Ronaldo and Martial. Ronaldo at 10.5 million now. He scored 159 points last season, but at 10.5, is he going to be? Is Ronaldo got another season in him?
I don't know. With him rumoured to other clubs and that, I reckon he can play. I reckon he can play football till he's 50. He's that fit and energetic. But I reckon Ronaldo, he can play football as he used to, but not as strong as he has in his prime.
Yeah, I think he'll still be as good as he is. I just think with the recent, obviously him not going to the training with the team and all the other stuff with him apparently seeking a transfer away, it's whether he still has that desire to play for them. Really, I'm sure he will. To see out his contract and stuff. But it's whether he's still, he's really interested in winning anything with them.
Yeah. So, Lewis, you mentioned there that you think Ronaldo could play football till he's 50. Do you think I would be able to do that?
Rob, you're almost 50.
Good answer. Right, okay. So before we move on to different topics, we'll just have a look through some of the comments that we had. So I think we had Reece in earlier. Reece Boyd. He mentioned that he says he feels like he's got a mega team. Bob Tash says she's got Haaland in her team. Macy has confirmed that Eriksen was at Inter. And he's also said he'll think he'll be surprised with United this year. Do we know if Macy's a Man U fan? I would imagine with him being from quite far down south, he probably is a Man U fan.
I don't think he follows football, does he?
Does he not? He seems to know. He's had in a few bits, unless he's got one of his work colleagues googling and whatnot at the moment. But he's had in a few bits. Right. Okay. So that's the summer signings done. We're going to move on to the fixtures for week 1. So we're on 9:30 at the moment. So we're looking at around about another 15 minutes before we bring the stream to a close. I was going to look at picking my team now. I don't think we're going to squeeze that in, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so the season starts a week today. Crystal Palace against Arsenal, 8 o'clock kickoff, Friday the 5th of August. Now, if you're a betting man and you don't particularly watch football much and you're just looking on paper and maybe looking at teams by the name or the stature, you'd probably be thinking Arsenal on this one, based on the history. Now, last season, Palace took 4 points from Arsenal. They beat them 3-0 at home and they drew 1-1 away. So Patrick Vieira is obviously in charge right now at Palace, a former Arsenal legend. Obviously he was there for the best part of a decade, if not just a little bit more, dominating that midfield through the late 90s and the 2000s. What's your thoughts on this one, guys? Where would you put your money on this, Palace against Arsenal?
Probably say I think Arsenal might just edge it this time. I think they'll have learned a little bit, because last year I think it came as a shock really how good Vieira was. Even though it probably could have been better, but it's just the team they had compared to Arsenal's at the time. It was quite an even game, and I think the fact that they did get the 4 points from them is a bit of a shock, but at the same time well deserved, because Arsenal just didn't play good football on both games.
Okay. Lewis, your thoughts on this one?
I can see Arsenal just scraping a win with, obviously, Hayes and all that, especially with Odegaard becoming a bit more technical. But with Vieira, he's very tactical in my opinion. He knows how to win a game of football, I'll tell you that.
Okay, fantastic. So, just for those that are on the stream, we've just put a poll up which ends in about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Just early predictions on this one, to be fair. So, who wins? Palace, draw, or Arsenal? So, you've got about a minute and a half just to left to vote on that. There's no channel points to win that. It's just a quick poll. It's not a prediction, because obviously we're not going to keep it open for a full week. So, just looking quickly at Palace's team. Never really changes much, does it? He's kind of consistent, and throughout. So obviously you've got Ward that's been there for quite a few years. The midfield's a harsh look. Ayew, MacArthur that's still going. Milivojevic as well, which has taken like 900 penalties in his career and scored 899 of them or something crazy like that. And then obviously you got the main man up front there, Benteke fried chicken. It's bound to be bagging the goals. I think just out of sympathy, I'm going to have to pick Benteke in my team. 5.5 million. His mobility reduces massively, doesn't it, year on year?
Like a bus, isn't he?
Yeah.
He is, yeah. He turns like the Titanic. Definitely past his better days. So this poll's just coming to a quick close now. There was just 2 people that voted, 1 each. So 1 person went for Palace, 1 person went for Arsenal. So we'll just have a quick look here on the comments. Macy says he's a Dortmund fan, he doesn't follow English football. Wow.
That surprised me.
Yeah,
That's an odd one,
that is an odd one, yeah. Yeah, that is an odd one. He says he's been over to watch them as well. Wow. Okay, fantastic.
Fair play, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so
The bloke has got money.
the bloke has got money. Yeah, I believe he's got a helicopter, hasn't he? And a helipad in his back garden.
On a private jet.
And a private jet. Fantastic. So we'll have to try and keep him on his good side and see if we can get some sponsorship money out of him and whatnot.
RBS tax.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so moving on to the power plays. So for those that haven't played fantasy football before or haven't followed it long enough to reap the benefits, you do get some bonuses that you can play throughout the course of the season. You get a bench boost and you get a triple captain. So just basically the bench boost, obviously when you pick your squad you've got to pick 15 players, 11 that start the matches, 4 that sat on the benches. If you select to play bench boost, then that means those players that are on your bench will score points throughout that weekend as well if they're playing in their teams. Okay, so for example, if you've got Harry Kane on the bench but you don't play the bench boost, you won't score any points if he scores a hat-trick. If you play the bench boost, you'll also score those points as well. Triple captain is relatively straightforward in terms of, it is what it says it is. If you play this, it's kind of like the Joker card. If you play this and your captain scores points, whatever he scores will be tripled over that weekend. So for example, if your captain is Harry Kane, and Tottenham are due to play away at Liverpool, for example, you're probably not going to play the triple captain. But if Tottenham are due to be at home against someone like Bournemouth or Fulham, where he's more than likely he's probably going to score 1, if not 2, go for a double delight, hat-trick heaven, you might want to play triple captain and triple those points. Now you can only play these jokers once throughout the course of the season. Psychologically, I think you probably want to use these early on. If you play triple captain first week of the season and it comes off and you're top of the table, you're going to have that vested interest then to keep going throughout the season. Obviously, if you play him early and it doesn't materialise, it doesn't work out well, then you've screwed it. But if you're going to keep on top of your team and keep updating it, then you've got the full season to scrape that back. Are either of you two playing any of your Joker cards this on the first weekend, or planning to?
So that's quite a tough one. I think obviously if you really want to get that early lead in the season, you can go for it. But whether with everyone being fresh off from pre-season, whether it's worth it or not, I won't personally be. But it's quite a tough one.
Mm-hmm. Lewis, have you got any plans to play your triple captain early on? Liverpool away at Fulham on the first weekend of the season.
I don't know really. I did it last season and it kind of paid off.
Right. What was the situation last season where it worked well?
I think it's because did Liverpool play Norwich first game of the season?
Possibly, yeah.
And I think Salah with 2 goals and assists, and that just give me 40, 50 points off the start.
Yeah.
Salah. But with this season, I don't really know because if you use it straight away, you can't really use it for the rest of the season. Then, and then if you're gonna play it tactically, you're gonna get through like the results. Like the results each week and who plays when, like who plays against who.
Yeah.
Like you've got to try and play it at the right time, but that might never work out because of injuries and. But
Yeah.
I'll think about it.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Okay, so just looking briefly at the time, it is 20 to 10, so we're just going to move on to the weekly quiz. So once a week we're going to have 5 questions and obviously 5 answers. Now, the guys on the panel here do not know the answers. I'm not sure if I shared the questions with them actually, to be honest, earlier in the week. But we'll just go through this briefly. And then we'll close the show by looking at some of the teams' name in the league. Macy's asked this in the stream, and we will cover this briefly because, well, we'll go into that in a few moments. So on to the quiz. Now everyone can take part in this. You guys can shout out the answer if you know this. Those that are on the stream, it's probably going to be whoever can type quickest in Google to get the answers here. Some of them are quite open questions. There's only 5, so I'll ask the question. I'll give people a minute or so to answer. Then I'll reveal the answer before we move on to the next one. Okay, and these are Premiership questions scattered over the course of the last 20 years. Okay, so like I said, there's only 5 questions. So question number 1. In the first ever Premier League season, which was 1992 to 1993, which club finished 3rd in the league that season but had a negative goal difference? So 92 to 93, which club finished 3rd in the inaugural Premier League season but actually had a negative goal difference?
Oh, that's a tough one.
I'm gonna go somewhere like Chelsea.
Chelsea for Lewis, okay.
I don't know about that because I mean, even then they were still not bad, but I don't think they would have got 3rd. Tough one.
And keep an eye on the Twitch stream. So some of the answers coming in here. So Calvin's gone with Liverpool, Tasha's gone with Leeds, Macy's gone with Newcastle.
Newcastle's a shout as well.
Yeah, Newcastle is a close shout. It's close. So we'll give it another 30 seconds.
I think I might go for Aston Villa or something.
Okay.
I don't know whether, I'm thinking, are they still good, like, around then, or I don't know, because
okay.
It's an odd one, that, finishing 3rd, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really odd, isn't it? Because naturally, in the modern game, the top half probably have a positive goal difference. You'll probably have 4 or 5 in the middle, which will be plus or minus just a couple, and then obviously the ones at the bottom are usually well into the minuses. So, question number 1: in the 1992-1993, which club finished 3rd in the inaugural Premier League season with a negative goal difference? The answer is Norwich. Norwich had a goal difference of -4 in that season, and they remain the only club to finish in the top 6 with a negative goal difference. So there you go, you see.
Wow.
Yeah, so Norwich.
That is
I think,
a very odd team.
Yeah, I think it's more surprising that Norwich finished 3rd than it is the actual negative goal difference.
It's the highest position, isn't it?
I was about to say that, yeah. It's
Yeah.
be one,
Probably, yeah.
Surely.
Probably, yeah. Okay, so question number 2. This is from the 1996-1997 season. How many points were Middlesbrough deducted for failing to fulfil a fixture against Blackburn in December?
Can you repeat that?
Yep, so in 1996-97 season, Middlesbrough failed to play a fixture against Blackburn in December. How many points did they get deducted for this?
I'm going to go with 9. I seem to. I'm getting the number 9 because Bolton didn't play 2 a few years back and got something like 18.
So for those that are in the stream, you don't need to know anything about football here. You're just guessing at a number. So
I'm gonna go with 6.
So Lewis has gone with 6, which is the same as what Macy said. Calvin G has gone with 10. Did we get an answer out of Jimbo?
Yeah, 9 points.
9 points. Okay.
Something to do with Bolton a few years ago. That's what I remember.
Okay. So here we go. So in the 1996-97 season, how many points were Middlesbrough deducted for failing to fulfil a fixture against Blackburn in December? The answer was just 3 points. But the key factor here is if they didn't have the 3 points deducted, they would have finished 14th that season. But as a result, they actually got relegated. That season. So it must have been really, really tight in the bottom half of the table that season.
Jesus. That's unlucky, that.
Yeah, it is.
Do you know the reason they weren't able to fulfil the fixture?
I don't know the reason, no, but I'll probably have a look into that afterwards. But,
Yeah.
Question number 3. In the 1998 and 99 season, David Ginola was voted the PFA Footballer of the Year, Player of the Season. Where did Tottenham finish in the league table that season? So David Ginola, when he came to the English Premier League with his long, grey, flocking hair, for the women he was a sex symbol, wasn't he? Well, for some men he would be a sex symbol, obviously not myself or present company.
I'm going to go 3rd.
So Lewis has gone for Tottenham finishing 3rd that season.
I'm going to go 6th.
So Jimbo's gone 6. Calvin G's also gone 6. Bob Tash says fittest player of the year, and she's got the love heart emojis going. She says 5th. Macy says 7th. I think that's everyone that's in the stream. So we'll read the question again. So in the 98-99 season, David Ginola was voted the PFA Footballer of the Year, Player of the Season. Where did Tottenham finish in the league table that particular season? They actually finished in 11th, and he is the only player to have won the award while playing for a club that finished in the bottom half of the league. So, yeah, so generally, obviously, usually whoever wins the league wins those kind of awards, don't they? The Golden Boot, the Clean Sheet Award, and the Player of the Year. It's usually the same kind of league-winning people. On to question number 4. So, on this one, we're looking for a team as opposed to a number. In the 2005-2006 season, against which club did Alan Shearer score his last Premier League goal in April 2006?
I don't think it'll be one of the top teams because I think by then, he's probably not as good as he was.
I think I'm going to say
RobWoollhouse.
Tottenham. I'm going to go with Tottenham.
Tottenham. Lewis has gone with Tottenham. So who did Alan Shearer score his last Premier League goal against in April 2006?
Go with Bolton, I think.
Bolton for Jimbo. Bob Tash has gone with Birmingham. Well, we'll give it another 10-15 seconds for anyone else on the stream.
A few teams you wonder, were they still in the Prem at that point? Birmingham being in the Championship now.
Yeah. Macy has gone for Sunderland. And that is the correct answer.
Wow.
So Shearer scored in a 4-1 win at the Stadium of Light. He was then substituted 10 minutes later due to injury and then retired. That game was in the April, and obviously the season usually finishes in May. So, yeah.
Wow.
Sunderland. So the last quiz question of the night before we look at some of the team names for the league. Question number 5. In the 2021-2022 season, so the season that has just finished just a few weeks ago, Leeds United set a new Premier League record this season, but what was it for? So it's quite an open question, this one.
I'm going to go with most red cards in the season.
Okay, Lewis has gone with the most red cards in a season.
Was it the least points but staying up still?
Least points but staying up for Jimbo. Bob Tash has gone for most tissues used. Is she calling them a team of wankers? I'm not sure. Most burgers sold. That's it. It's a good shout. But we'll give it another minute or so. So Leeds United, in the season that's just finished, well, a few weeks ago, Leeds United set a new Premier League record, but what was it? And the answer, we all refer to Leeds as Dirty Leeds, don't we? They were the first team to pick up 100 cards in a season, 97 yellows and 3 reds. 97 yellows and 3 reds.
I knew something about cards.
Yeah, disciplinary. So, before we look at some of the team names, one of the things that we mentioned at the top of the show is that we will need a show title at the end. So just bear that in mind. Feel free to add your comments and titles in the stream. We'll gather some from you guys shortly. But if we look at Benteke fried chicken and some of the team names that we've got. So now when you do submit your team name, there are algorithms in place which stop certain names and certain words. There was 1 or 2 that were blocked by the website, but I don't think they were actually too bad, to be fair. I think Macy's was actually blocked, and it was Borussia Teeth. Exile, I think yours was blocked, was it? Has it been sorted?
No, it's still pending.
It's still pending.
Moderation.
It's still pending moderation. Wow. Okay. So let's have a look at some of the names then. These fantasy team names are always go from one extreme to the other, don't they? You get some that are shite and boring, and you get some real classics. So Zach Walker's gone with Exeter Gently. Obviously, the slower you read that, the ruder it gets, but exit her gently. Fast Whistle Donk, Stephen Wignall, Winnie's Wanderers, Potato Salad from Charlie Meggs. I'm sure Charlie won't mind me saying this, but I'm not a man. I wouldn't associate TTV Prince with a potato salad, to be fair. I'm sure he won't take that as in the offensive way, but all good fun. Simon Davison's gone with the traditional Halifax. We've got Carl Locker here from the Scrapyard Screamers. I'm assuming he is 298, Lewis. Carl Locker. Has he gone to bed? Lewis gone to bed, has he?
I think
Carl Locker, yeah. Brother with Dale's 299, isn't he? I think so.
I think he's either 29 or 298. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of them.
Yeah. Okay. You got Exeter Softly, which is obviously Liam McClellan, known as Ginge 717, so that's very close to Exeter Gently. Matt Radford, Inter Milan. Away the lads. Yeah. Slim's 11. Severe injury for Jamie Westland, which is Jamie Dodger, isn't it? Severe.
You got that wrong. Is it meant to be into your nan, not into my nan?
I'm not arguing over whose nan it is, to be fair, mate. You can have it as your nan, I'm not fussed. I mean, that's probably going to end up as the fucking show title, isn't it? Into me nana. Jamie Dodger, severe injury. Oh, so as in severe. Yeah, I get that now, having read it again. Yeah, fair enough. Joss's Giants, Rust Harmony has kept his traditional with his gamer tag. Vibes 11. I can't wait till the wheels come off Vibes 11 promotion push. That's going to be the pisser when his wheels fall off his wagon. There's an internal joke there.
Deep, we call him.
That's it, yeah. We've got Devo here from over the seas, over in Northern Ireland. Deep fried roos. Only put Matip in, said Adam Fitzpatrick. Tian Busquets, Cheshire Cats, Steve Bruce. Aaron McPartlin's going with Steve Bruce. On to page 2. There we go, James Eccles, pending moderation. What was the name that you went for, Jimbo?
So it was Jim Nib Knob Bibbly Bob, I believe. But I think the knob bit might be what's pending.
Yes, I imagine so. Dangly balls there for Jake Taylor again. Rockabye Baby for Daz Oldsworth. This one was one that I had to report actually to the website, created by a manager called Predator Hunters. It was something to do with a certain person that runs a certain promotion. So that name has been removed. Caden Sanday with a name of Premier League. Matt Thomas, it's our year. I wonder who he supports.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll never know.
Adam Rowell keeping it real there with the Jokers, obviously in relation to his banger racing team and the black and reds that he runs in. Another with Sergio Busquets. Who de voca you, Luis Anselo? Who de voca you? What did he say then? Is he gone scuba diving? R.I.P. Origa, yeah. Josh Wells with the Wells. Stranger Rings. 6 Bolt for Ben Clifton, keeping it real. James Uglow going with Jugs 95. Diaby does Gallus for Pete Walker of the Gingers. Bob Tash with FC Wooler. There's Macy's that's recently been approved, Borussia Teeth. Lucky keeping it real with Lucky. And then I just had to a complete lack of creativity went with FC Bad News, seeing as the name no longer exists in certain promotions, shall we say. So that is 55 minutes of episode 1 of Benteke Fried Chicken. It's been an absolute pleasure having you guys in. We'll talk about how we feel it's run afterwards privately. But thank you, Lewis and Jimbo, for being in. No problem.
Thank you.
Between the pair of you, do you have any suggestions for the title name at all? Or does anybody on the stream have any suggestions? So we mentioned at the top of the show that we start as untitled. I will try and make a name. At the end of the show,
NayCTM 298 cheered. X10.
Quite a tough one, to be fair.
thank you for the bits, Mason. I think my suggestion would be we'll probably go with Inter Milan or Inter Yornan. I think obviously that was the giggle moment of the show, wasn't it? So we'll go with that. But yeah, that's it from me, guys. Once again, thank you everyone that's been in. We will bring the stream to a close now. And yeah, we'll be back. I'm probably going to play some Football Manager and struggle like fuck yet again later on tonight. But that's it, guys. Over and out. Thank you very much.